Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather. I can tell you that this is definitely not what I was expecting to be doing right now, but we, oddly enough, have a tornado warning that has been issued for southern portions of Hill County, northern McLennan County. When I tell you that I was working on installing a television in my kid's room, when I found my phone that was under building materials and tools and things to look at this. And if we look at velocity, I mean, we can see where there has been really just in a couple of frames here. That one right there is really the frame that I would say has the best indication of rotation here. And this is right near Golson. And again, this is not by any means the setup that we were looking at for today. Today has been all about the flooding and that potential. But this storm is definitely doing something wild. And I mean, right here we can see, and I apologize for the way the colors go really crazy there for a second. Sometimes it does that. But, here, yeah, I mean, I've just not been watching this as closely because I just was not in that mode of expecting this kind of situation. So I literally had to run to the computer and jump into this. And ironically enough, the last time I remember something like this happening, it was a tornado warning in this same area, actually northern Hill County. So there's something about Hill County getting very unexpected tornado warnings. But this warning runs until, until 8:15. So about another 14 minutes from now. This is a slow moving storm. If anything, I was concerned, like I say, about the flooding on this one. I was putting that TV up and it was taking a little longer than I expected. And I wanted to make sure that, I tried to get that done so I could get back to the desk, and had to jump very quickly to get attention on this. So again, this is right near Golson. And if you are in that area, I definitely need you to take shelter right now. Now, I will tell you, this is radar indicated. I'm not seeing reports that there is a tornado on the ground. In fact, I'm not seeing much, if anything, from the National Weather Service. I'm kind of trying to get plugged in here to different sources of information, but nothing from the National Weather Service on their X account. Normally, that's going to be their quickest spot of posting updates, and they don't really have anything going on. So this is going to be the part of the storm. It's right here near Golson. So if you're in that area, you need to be taking shelter right now. And then, this particular storm, so you can see here, I mean, it's got a pretty good little hook. So I guess I should have been watching this more closely. Again, this was not at all, our prediction here, not something that I expected. And this just shows you that it is really tough to be a one-man show with this weather stuff, because man, these storms pretty much make you just stay in one spot 24/7, because these things go crazy with the weirdest things happening. So again, radar indicated, not hearing any reports of anything confirmed on the ground. I'm not getting any reports of that, not seeing that anywhere. I'm going to try to jump over to some other sources here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is catching just about everybody by surprise. So, yeah, this storm, now, like I said, this storm is moving fairly slowly, and you notice how the speed of the radar changes. That is because it changes mode here. Sorry, I have to get the cat out of here so he doesn't interrupt us. But it will change mode a little bit. And that can happen when you have something like this. The radar will go to a different mode where it starts scanning more frequently. And so that is why you see it. But I mean, this shows you, again, it's moving very slowly to the northeast. And so that is what we're watching. Now, this storm, you see this tornado warning. I mean, it's, again, for another 15 minutes here. They have just... I'm sorry, folks. Got to get all of the cats out of here so they'll stop interrupting me. Again, we were not prepared for this, so I'm kind of on the fly trying to make things happen here. But this hook near Gulson, that's where we're going to be looking at a possible tornado. Now, we'll get to where it's going to go when in just a moment. So yeah, this is what we're watching here. Northern McLennan County, Southern Hill County. In fact, I think they have canceled Hill County out of this, so it's just McLennan County. But near Gulson, Ross, West, and Leroy, I need you to be taking shelter right now. Again, we don't have confirmation of a tornado on the ground at the moment, but we do have a warning in place for radar indicated rotation. Now, when I look at this, the rotation was more, it looks kind of sloppy the whole time. Now, we are looking farther up in the storm. We're farther away from the radar. And so, it's hard to see, but you can see some broad rotation there. You can see it kind of come together, but really there. And then again, there was only really one or two frames here that would have made me, if I were in that position, post a tornado warning. So definitely a little rogue storm here. If we look at we're not even looking at very much of a hail threat here. Northwest of Gulson, I would say maybe some small hail, but not expecting too much. Now, as far as where this storm is going to go, I want to put this back into motion here. You can see that it's moving fairly slowly, and the rotation at this point really doesn't even look too intimidating. So I'm not as concerned about the Malone, Penelope, Hubbard, Mount Calm areas yet, because it's going to take so long to get there that I'm fairly certain this probably won't be around long enough to be a concern there. So I'm not as worried about that situation in that regard. But near Gulson, just north of there, that's where we're seeing that rotation. And then just west of Ross. So I'm actually going to put up here simultaneously, and we can still see some broad rotation here, but definitely not looking as intense as it did just a moment ago. So again, I'm not as concerned about this storm moving into other areas just yet. So Ross, Leroy, West, those are the areas, of course, Gulson, as you're in that warning, those are the areas where I want you to be most attentive here. And that's going to be the area where you have to be a little more concerned at this very moment. This storm, let's see if they give us moving east at 10 miles per hour. So very, very slowly. Moving very slowly here. Yeah, Matt, I have a volunteer fire department friend in Gulson as well. So yeah, if we put this into motion here, you can definitely see the rotation, but again, there's not any ground confirmation. Let me get that back up there. There's not any ground confirmation of anything. Nothing is observed at this time, but we are definitely looking at a tornado warning that, by all accounts, was unexpected today. This was not something that we were expecting. In fact, I don't think anybody else is even covering this at this point. I'm sure everybody else is probably getting surprised like I am. And I see your comments on other posts about the warning. Like I say, I was putting a TV together in my kid's room, trying to have a life and stuff. But Texas weather makes that very hard, because these storms almost uniformly have to be babysat, because they just do the weirdest things all the time. And I didn't have. No, this storm will not make it as far north as Ellis County. I want to remind you, this storm is moving very, very slowly. I'm not concerned about any area. Well, let me refresh the radar, because now it's decided to take the day off. I am not concerned about any area outside of northern McLennan County at this time, because again, this storm is moving very slowly. And so I don't really expect this storm to I mean, this tornado warning, I would doubt that this would probably last much longer or go much farther than northern McLennan County. So I'm not as concerned right now. I'm not concerned about Navarro County, not looking at Johnson or Ellis. This is Southern Hill County, not tracking towards Ellis, Johnson. I mean, it's far Southern Hill County. We'll watch it. And then Navarro County is kind of eons away in terms of how slowly this thing is moving. So just to kind of give you that perspective. So yeah, this is just north of Waco, north of Waco, south of Hillsborough. So it's just kind of right in between there. So closer to Abbott and West and Ross and Leroy. Those are the areas that are paying attention to. Emily Schultz, this is Texas. So this is North Texas, North Central Texas. So, I mean, as far as the forecast that we've been watching today, we've not had so much as a severe thunderstorm warning at this time, but we are now looking at a tornado warning that has popped up in this area. And as I mentioned before, this is not the first time this has happened. There has been, there was another situation where it was a similar day to today, where we were expecting nothing more than just a rainy day, and then we had just one random storm that spun up. So, I mean, it's quite a wild little event that's gone on here. So, we try to we try to do what we can to cover everything, but sometimes I got to do the things I got to do, and everybody else, I'm sure, is probably trying to do the same thing. And they're all going, what and where? So, oh, how wild. Let me just remind you again, we don't have any confirmation of anything on the ground. This tornado warning is strictly... this is strictly a... It's radar indicated. Now, Brandon 4, funnel cloud spotted east of Gulson, moving towards west. Brandon, can you get me a picture of that or a video of that? This is not headed... the only area I'm concerned about right now is northern McLennan County. It's moving very, very slowly, so I don't expect it. It's not moving to Ellis or Johnson counties. I can guarantee you that. So that's kind of the situation that we are in. Okay, so I'm getting reports now I'm being told it's on a scanner from a viewer that there's a funnel cloud in Gulson headed northeast. Now, again, this is just from... this is strictly, from them. I don't have any kind of visual on this. And Facebook has been acting very odd. Facebook's been acting odd today. Very, very slowly to do anything. So I haven't been able to get anything very quickly. But, I mean, I do still see some rotation, at least in Gulson. And... I'm trying to pull up some other information here, but I'm just not seeing. There's not any chasers or anything watching this, but this is what we're looking at. You can see the red and the green there. Again, we're farther away from the radar, so we're looking higher up in the storm at very high level rotation, and so this is kind of one of those deals where it's very hard to see too much detail. That's not what I need. I need correlation coefficient. Okay, so looking at correlation coefficient, this is going to be one of those indicators we have of, when there's actual tornado on the ground, and I'm not seeing that at this point. And in fact, if we go, there's another radar tower here I can look at, but this one's going to be even farther away. Okay, we're just going to keep with KFWS for now. So man, people are miles away asking if it's going there. Let me just broaden this out, help you understand. This is just north of Waco. This is not headed to Ellis County. Nowhere north of Hillsboro it has even really a chance of seeing this, at least not in its current form. And then I'm not even worried about Navarro County at this point. Let's see. Twister Spin Storm Chasers monitoring here, but unable to chase today. Well, I mean, yeah, nobody's prepared for this. This is not, by no means is this any kind of a typical situation. And the tornado warning is, come on, phone. Nothing's working for me today, man. Nothing was ready for this. Okay, so that tornado warning has been allowed to expire here. Yeah, so the warning has expired at 8:15. Emily Schultz, the red does not mean a tornado. I think you need to learn a little bit more about radar before you start throwing conclusions out there, because we gotta make sure we report accurate information. So this storm, the warning has been allowed to expire here by the National Weather Service. And again, here goes the velocity messing up again. Taylor, I see your question, and give me a minute before we get to talking about the Kearns area, because that's far enough away, and the forecast tonight. We got to focus on what we've got going on right now. And I'm still not seeing anything come in from that area. And I'll tell you too that this was not. I mean, we're under a marginal risk of severe weather, and that's not to say that tornadoes can't happen in a marginal risk. They absolutely can, but that just kind of speaks to the fact that this was not kind of typical of what we were expecting. And so it looks to me like some of this convection here probably cutting off the rotation. So that's kind of what helped that. Somebody saying the sky is very eerie in Waco. This is north of Waco. This is Gulson towards west. Nothing's happening in Waco right now. I'm looking back at your questions here. Mike, it did do a right turn because normally this would be moving northward. It'd be moving northeast. So the fact that it's moving due east at this point, I mean, you can see that evident with the other activity. You see that storm near Gatesville should be moving northeast. So the right turn is that it was moving directly towards Gulson. So we did have a right turn on this one, but no confirmation of a tornado on the ground. It looks like it was just a very quick spin up, just caught some shear just the right way. We still have some broad rotation there, I would say. Just ignore the colors freaking out there because that happens every now and then. But I'm seeing very broad, very disorganized rotation, if anything, at this time. We did have a viewer put in the chat that they heard that there was a funnel cloud. That's very far removed from me getting any kind of confirmation. So just to make sure you understand that we don't have any kind of firm confirmation of anything. Yeah, Texas Storm Chasers, it was posted on Twitter, but that looks automatic to me. So, yeah, I think everybody probably reacted around the same time I did. And, man, oh man, that was wild. That was just wild. And like I say, this is why it's really hard for me to really hard for me to be. Well, okay. Um, yeah, so I wouldn't expect sirens in Waco. I don't think there's probably any sirens going on at this point because the warning has been allowed to expire. Okay, so at this point, the warning has been allowed to expire. I think my chair is sinking there. The warning has been allowed to expire. We are not looking at any kind of major situation at this moment. No confirmation of anything on the ground at this time. No ground truth with that. I'm still seeing signs of maybe some broad rotation here. Linda, that's just the radar messing up. Unfortunately, it does that sometimes. The colors in the velocity view get kind of goofy, so don't worry about that. Um, so as far as what to expect tonight, I know there's a lot of questions of, hey, what's next? Well, the thing is, I'm not expecting this to happen again. I wasn't even expecting this to happen to begin with. This is a very kind of unique, to say the least, situation. What's funny is I was tired a few minutes ago. I don't feel very tired now. Although, man, I'm going to be really exhausted after the adrenaline rush. But I mean, if we broaden this out here, I mean, this is a storm that decided to pop off an attitude and, prompt a tornado warning. And the good news is, again, there was some convection to the south of that storm that appears to have disrupted everything. So I think that was our saving grace here. You can see this convection coming in from the south. That I think that served to disrupt the rotation that was forming there. And it didn't look particularly intense anyway, but, it definitely was there. And I think it had the potential to escalate to producing a tornado, which is probably why the National Weather Service went ahead and warned that storm. Now, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, well, there's that, but okay, so I'm seeing funnel clouds, but in other places. So I'm not seeing anything confirming any kind of funnel cloud or tornado or anything in this area during that time. Bob, no severe thunderstorm warning with this one. That's part of what was kind of odd about this. This storm was below severe limits, and then all of a sudden there's a tornado warning issued for it. So now I will admit I watched this one earlier and it was kind of forming a hook-ish, shape, but it just I didn't have it in my head that this was going to have any kind of support for that. So I when I say that I ran in here and jumped into this chair, I don't know how I didn't break this chair. Grabbed a hat and threw it on and typed as fast as I could to, get the title and everything up there. So, man, oh man. Wild evening. This definitely was not part of the expectations today. The marginal risk of severe weather I was, looking at for maybe some gusty winds, some small hail, but nothing like that. So, Crazy Texan, you said you're in Hubbard. I mean, you're going to be a little farther away. You would have to be in either Golson or Lacey Lakeview to get a better view of this thing. The track on this storm, it's moving. When I tell you it's moving about 10 miles per hour, it is crawling. And in fact, the other thing I'll tell you too is that this is not, there's not as much coverage of storms as I thought there would be. Um, So no, it's not moving northward towards Hillsborough at this point. It took a right turn, as is typical with storms with rotation, and it is moving at 10 miles an hour. It's crawling. It's essentially loitering in northern Hill County right now. That's what's going on. This storm is bonkers. Just bonkers. I mean, like I say, we were worried about the flooding issues here. So you know, the fact that we're dealing with now a past tornado warning, this particular storm, I do not honestly know what to expect from this particular storm. Now, I will tell you that it's going nowhere very quickly. So, if you're in Gulson, Lacey Lakeview, Ross, Leroy, West, northern McLennan County, it's going to be a pretty good while. It's going to be a pretty good while before this one goes anywhere. So I'm not expecting it. It's not going to hit Ellis County. Not going to hit Johnson County. It's not going to hit any really. Again, I'm not concerned about this hitting anywhere but northern McLennan County at this point. To me, this thing, by the time it got into Hill County or Navarro County, it'd probably be an hour from now or so. I mean, it's going to take a very long time to get just about anywhere. But yeah, I was just thinking to myself, I'm going to have to caffeinate a little bit because we may have late night storms, not expecting anything like this, but may have some late night storms to deal with as we go through the next, several hours of the low pressure system that brought us all of this, picking up pace and moving our way. But it looks to me like you see all of this convection that moved in from the south, and I think that cut off that rotation. So that's what kind of disrupted that. Now, will it, reform and that kind of thing? I am not sure. This storm we're definitely going to have to watch. We'll look at the hail probabilities here, and there's not a stable hail core there. It looks like we had one briefly just north of Gulson, but it doesn't look like that is going to be really anything organized at this point. Now, I'm going to continue to watch this one because this little storm has decided that it's just going to throw off and that kind of thing. And the people asking in Kearns, it's not going to be anywhere near there. I don't expect this to be, and if it is anywhere near there, it's going to be like 2 or 3 hours from. I mean, let me look. Kearns, come on, show me the thing. So Kearns is 50, almost basically 60 miles away from that rotation core, and it's moving 10 miles per hour. So it would take a quarter of a day to get to Kearns at its current speed. So I'm not really worried about this storm getting anywhere near Kearns because it would take forever to get there. It would be forever from now. So yeah, this thing is going to stay in northern McLennan County. My biggest concern right this second is going to be the flooding because there is tons of heavy rain. This thing is growing and tons of heavy rain in this thing, and it is not going anywhere fast. So you know what? I'm going to text a friend of mine who is in the Gulson area. Although I don't think he's home at the moment, so he's probably not there. So Bob Anderson, it was well south of Whitney. It hasn't gone towards the Whitney area. All the rotation was near Gulson. So, I mean, if you're north of West, north of that area, I'm not expecting much of anything at all. I mean, you'll get rain, but as far as the rotation and those kinds of things, that's likely going to stay south in McLennan County at this time. Now, the way that this storm has kind of reformed here, if there is a concern about rotation, that's going to be closer to Lacey Lakeview at this time. So right there, north of Lake Waco, right there north of the airport there, that's going to be the area we have to be the most concerned about. And you know what? Okay, so that's Waco Regional Airport. Okay, I was double checking that. So, just north of Waco Regional, just west of Lacey Lakeview. That's going to be the area where we are looking at the probability at this time. I don't know about probability. Possibility of trying to get some new rotation. And you can kind of still see here where I really wish it would stop doing that. I don't know why it's doing this so much. The velocity is just a mess today. Can't stand when that happens. Now, the other thing too is that we have more convection that is feeding in from the south. That's going to keep disrupting any kind of rotation that tries to form here. So that's good news. More little shower activity from Waco going to feed north into the storm. That will continue to disrupt it from rotating. So now there's two things to talk about here. The whole storm, there's plenty of heavy rain all the way from Southern Hill County towards just right at about Waco Regional Airport. The area that has a concern for rotation is much more compact. So I want people to understand that when you're looking at, hey, this storm is moving into west, the rotating part of the storm is not. I want to make that very, very, very clear, because there will be people that will see dark clouds and say, well, I'm about to get a tornado. You got to know the anatomy of these storms. You got to know where things are going and where things are tracking in order to understand how all this is going to work. So this is just north of Waco, just west of Lacey Lakeview, near Golson there, maybe just south of there. That's where we would be concerned about any possibility of rotation. Let's see. Bob, have I ever seen storms move slow like this and then speeds up significantly? So, yes and no. Kind of a loaded question. But part of what is probably slowing this storm down is the fact that it took a right turn. It is a larger storm. Much of the time we'll see these larger storms move slower because they're moving to the right, which is not necessarily in accordance with the primary flow. Now, if this storm weakens, that also makes the storm lighter, so the air that's carrying it is going to carry it quicker. You see what I'm saying? There are times when we'll see a storm moving really slowly, and then it kind of falls apart, and it just kind of gets caught up in that the flow there, and then it just kind of races off to the northeast because it's lighter and it's being carried by that surface flow. So that's just kind of an example. No tornadoes expecting, not looking at tornadoes in Blum, Texas. I'm not sure what that comment's about. Flash flood warning issued here, very well placed, because this thing, Doppler radar indication of thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Radar estimates between 1 and 3 inches of rain have fallen in the past hour. So, 1 to 3 inches per hour rain rate is pretty crazy. That's pretty high. And so hopefully it's on the lower end of that, but a lot of heavy rain coming from this very slow moving storm. So that's going to be the concern here, that we're moving out of a tornado threat and more towards a flash flood threat. And yes, the warning expired at 8:15. So I will tell you that the rotating part of this storm, it has not been organized since all of that convection disrupted it. And again, just ignore all the flashes there. But all the rotation was disrupted in this thing. So I'm not looking at rotation at this time, not really concerned about that. The main issue with this one is going to be the flash flood warning. The tornado warning was allowed to the tornado warning was allowed to expire 20 minutes ago. So it was allowed to expire at 8:15. So it's completely fine. So I guess that train isn't the only thing going off the rails. The weather is the weather is going full crazy train as well. Man, oh man. Haley, it's moving very slowly east. Okay, Rio, YouTube lied to me and said tornado warning Hill County. That's, guys, that's the title of the video. That's the title of the video that I put there, and I haven't changed it yet. Oh my goodness. Okay, hang on. Let me go ahead and change it here. Okay. All right, and I see the questions about hail. I've not received reports of hail. There was probably some small hail with this one, but it doesn't look like there was any significant hail threat with this storm. Michelle, we're not near we're far south of Maypearl at this time. This is just north of Waco. So yeah, this is not headed to Ellis County, not headed to Johnson County, probably barely even headed to Navarro County. Navarro County, you're getting some of this to the northwest, but northeast rather. But I mean, the anchor of the storm, where any rotation would occur, is pretty much stuck in North Waco. So just to give everybody kind of a scope here, here's our potential rotation should it happen again, and that's, you know, now we're seeing the anvil of this storm proceed northward, right? That's what you can see. You can see the anvil of that storm, and there's some rain coming from that. Now we're seeing some lightning strikes here, and some rain that's protruding out, and that's probably some downburst winds that have managed to go out there. But any kind of tornado threat that could happen from this storm, there's not one right now, but if there is one, it will be farther to the south. Thank you, Maggie, for your Venmo donation. Greatly appreciate that. Not expecting the strongest part of the storm in Blooming Grove. You may get some rain out of this, but that would be about it. Bob, yes, I have seen a tornado in person. So just to recap here, we had a tornado warning earlier this evening, not presently at this time, but that expired at 8:15. That tornado warning was for Southern Hill County, Northern McLennan County, for this storm that is moving about 10 miles per hour. And I mean, this thing was wild. This was a really wild storm. Um, Not the kind of thing we tend to see. Let me, in fact, let's go ahead and kind of dual screen this again. Yeah, I'm not seeing any signs of rotation at this point. So, yeah, not seeing anything now that warrants this being tornado warned. But my goodness, that was an interesting jump there, huh? Really crazy on YouTube. What is the tornado threat this evening in the South Waco area, south between Temple and I mean, the tornado threat area wide is fairly low. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't be too concerned about it at this point. Because I mean, I say that as we just had a tornado warning that happened. So, I mean, it's a very low tornado threat. I mean, it's not zero obviously, but it's a fairly low tornado threat at this point. So now I will say that we're starting to see this shape and then we're starting to see this here. So we may not be out of the woods here. And we're seeing this moving towards the radar. So we could be looking at some broad rotation kind of coming back. The only warning we have right now is a flash flood warning. So in Hillsboro, I mean, you're going to be looking at clouds. You wouldn't be able to see the any kind of rotation or a wall cloud or anything there. But we are going to have to watch this because we are seeing, let me do a better job than that. Yeesh. We are seeing now some winds that might be trying to bring in some broad rotation at this point. So we may be getting ready to do this again. Still not seeing any kind of confirmation of anything at this point. Yeah, I doubt anybody, Matt Campbell, I doubt anybody is prepared to jump on anything. So I think people are getting confused in the YouTube chat. Overwatch is talking about a tornado reported last year, and everybody's getting upset that I think there's a lot of confusion. Overwatch is talking about last year. Now, with all of that said, we are watching this one try to wrap up again. Okay. So, yeah, we are watching this one try to wrap up again. So if you're near Ross, between Ross and Lacey Lakeview, we're seeing this one try to get wrapped up again here. Overwatch, I think you're fine. I think it was everybody else that wasn't following. But right in here, I'm going to be watching that pretty closely because I'm pretty sure we're watching this one try to wrap up. Okay, yeah, not getting any kind of confirmation of anything, but I will be watching the storm very closely. Looks like it is trying to get organized again. Um, yeah, we're going to have to keep watching this. I don't think this one's done. So let's see here. We have okay, waiting for another update on velocity here. Looks like that hook isn't as clear, but we're still gonna have to watch it. Bob, yes, that's what we've been talking about, is that 10 miles per hour. That's the speed of the storm. So, I mean, you can see the flash flood warning, that bright green polygon there. That is because the storm that has been moving so quickly. Give me 1 second here. Trying to catch up on questions. Um, Nothing headed to Hillsborough right now. Michael Langsford, yeah, I mean this was not expected today. I would not have talked about a tornado risk with these storms. Um, yeah, I mean this was definitely a very atypical situation. Yeah, there's nothing happening in Waco right now. Just some rain there, maybe lighter showers that have passed through, but I don't see anything happening in Waco at this point. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on this one. Um, Jordan, I'm not expecting it in Hubbard. Megan, not expecting it in Ennis. I'm really not expecting this anywhere outside of northern Waco, right, or northern McLennan County at this point. It's moving at 10 miles an hour. It's just not. Um, it's just not something that we have to be worried about outside of that area for a while at least. Um, Colin, velocity radar is low. How was their formed rotation? It's not there now. It was there earlier. Um, it wasn't terribly intense, but it was there. Sierra Elm Mott area. I mean, yes, generally, you're going to be in the storm there, but there's nothing to there's not any tornado warnings or any kind of rotation at this time. Not expecting it in the Mertens Frost area, and not really expecting it to do much in Navarro County. Now, there's some of this where, Southern Hill County, again, you're getting some rain from this, but not the rotation in this storm, not expected there. Ryan Moran, not expected in Corsicana, not expected in Ferris. I guess I'll just go one by one here. That's the thing, folks. Is I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to affect anywhere but northern McLennan County. Let me just put this here. Put that in the chat too. Maybe more people will see it there. Yeah, that whole thing was wild. Any part of this storm that would be rotating is north of Waco at this point. Bob, I'm not sure I agree with you. I feel like I was working plenty of severe weather before June. This was a busy season. I mean, March 8th was probably the most intense storm I've covered so far. And, I mean, that was right on. That was 8 days into meteorological spring. So I'm not sure I can agree with that assessment. Overwatch later tonight, more widespread rain possible. Not really expecting. I mean, I don't. This was an anomaly. This is not a sign that we're going to have severe weather the rest of the night or anything. But this was definitely a very out of place kind of thing. What I'm expecting later tonight, because I can see the conversations going that way. Later tonight, I'm expecting more coverage of storms because the low pressure system that has given us all the rain yesterday and today will roll over our area overnight. And then tomorrow morning, we should be clearing this stuff out by 10, 11 o'clock or so. So right now, this particular storm, we might be looking at a little bit of a, well, not really. Hail threat is negligible with this one. Maybe some small hail, but that's going to be about it. I mean, this particular storm is not particularly intense. It had rotation with it. There was sufficient rotation to cause a tornado warning earlier tonight that expired at 8:15. But, I mean, there hasn't really been anything since then that has indicated rotation or any reason to be worried about tornadic activity or anything of that sort. Jamie, I don't think it's changed since the last time I put that out there somewhere. I don't remember where I put it, but I would say overnight is tough because some models are starting to act like it's not going to be as intense. But I would say if we get the same kind of coverage overnight that I was thinking we would get, I would expect 1 to maybe 2 inches overnight of rain. Okay, getting some pictures in here. Not really. And if you send in reports or anything, make sure that you send in your location, because without a location, I don't really know. Okay. I'm not really expecting Madeline. It's all north of Waco. So, Jamie, if you saw 6 inches of rain, that's probably what we were talking about before, where we were saying that on what, Monday for the entire week, right? So there were some places we were talking 3 to 5 inches of rain, maybe up to 6 or 7 in localized areas for the entire week. So we weren't. That wouldn't be overnight. That would be exceptional. That would be wild. Madeline, you asked about Waco. Everything's north of Waco at this point, and even then, I'm not seeing anything remarkable there. Maybe some heavy rain there now, but not seeing anything too concerning at this time. Okay, question on YouTube. Are the cells building to the southwest of this storm we're watching moving at the same slow-paced easterly trajectory? That was really wordy. Okay, I guess you're talking about storms. I'm going to have to open up a new window here. I guess you're talking about storms near Killeen and Temple? Give me 1 second here. Let me try to shift gears on where I can see those too. Um, okay. Now Radar Omega's giving me grief. Hang on just a second, everybody. Good Lord. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so that's just not going to work for me. Let me get another. You know what? I'm just going to have to do this. Always nice when technology refuses to work with me. Now, JVol on YouTube, I'm not sure which. Are you talking about the ones near Killeen, or are you talking farther near Fredericksburg? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Haven't really seen anything in Waco at this point. So here's what we have. If we look at Central Texas, if anything for our particular area, I'd be watching this. I'd be watching this area. So, that's the area where we could possibly see, more rain. And of course, the low itself is out here, and that'll be headed our direction as well. But the thing is, this is a cutoff low, and so it's not. It doesn't have the rest of the flow to carry it very quickly. So that's part of why everything is moving so slowly out here. JVO, in other words, what's the macroscopic view? You're very wordy. You're asking so I guess you're just asking what's coming up next. Well, let's switch gears here. Just 1 second here, everybody. All right, so nope, I got the 0Z. Okay, let me try this. So here's what the model is showing. So let's try to go about it this way. So All right, everybody hang on a second because we're going to look at the models. So this is 12 a.m. and prior models had more coverage, had more broad coverage at this point. But then if we carry that on, so this is 3 a.m. So this is kind of what I'm expecting, but it's almost later than I thought. This is the latest run of the high resolution rapid refresh model. So obviously you can see this area getting most of the coverage, and that's going to be moving to the northeast, right? So if we continue that on, you can see a little bit of a spin here. So what you're looking at is everything is spinning around the low, which is going to be crossing right over our area tomorrow morning. So now that's 9 a.m., 10, 11, 12. So what you see is a couple of things. On the back side of it could be some more storms. On the front side of it, we have obviously all of the main convection headed to the northeast. So 12 o'clock tomorrow could be some more convection on the backside, obviously, as we warm up. 5, 6, 7, 8. So really kind of two things to watch here. Early in the morning before sunrise, we have, if this keeps, now these models don't always stay the same, but if this keeps, then, from basically Waxahachie south on into the hill country, you're moving across I-45 at that point by 6 a.m. By 7, 8 a.m., the heaviest is moving out of our area, but we're on the back side of this low at that point, and we could have some convection mostly through the early afternoon hours in our area, so some leftover showers and thunderstorms. So that's what we're looking at, folks. Now, getting back to this storm here, I mean, I can still see maybe some broad rotation at this point. So that's what we're watching right now is obviously this storm was tornado warned earlier. At this point, I'm not seeing anything that has me too concerned, but we are definitely seeing at least the possibility that this storm, could try to generate some rotation. Emergency Management Waco, north of Elmont, going north sounds interesting. Matt, can you be a little more clear there? What are you referring to? Are they saying something on the radio? What's the situation there? So we're going to have to watch this in the Ross area, just south of Ross. It looks to me like rotation could be trying to pick up there. So we'll have to watch that very closely. Of course, the flood watch continues through 7 a.m. Or no, 7 p.m. tomorrow. And that flood watch is area wide. So if we watch this one, we'll have to keep an eye on it for sure. But at this time, I am not seeing any kind of rotation, any kind of indication of rotation at this point. So just to recap here, just to kind of show you what we're looking at. Again, there's this storm, northern McLennan County. It's basically stationary at this time. So at this point, this storm is not moving much. We have some storms over to the west. I think if anything, these may end up being our higher coverage of rain overnight. But this storm here, not moving very much at all. I'm not really concerned about that. We have some rain that's kind of shooting off the top of the storm, but that is not the rotation. That is not anything that's going to be severe or damaging or anything like that. But I am watching, again, and I see a couple of comments kind of, jumping on this, that we could be looking at the possibility of some rotation trying to form there. Obviously, we have that history with this storm. So, we will have to pay attention to this. Not seeing anything immediately concerning, but we will continue to monitor this. And at some point, I got to get that TV figured out. So that'll be another priority too. But thank you so much all for tuning in here. I'm going to continue to watch this. Like I say, right now, this storm is just sitting in northern McLennan County. Nothing terribly concerning at this moment, but I will continue to monitor this just in case we start to see that rotation try to take hold again. But for the moment, not really seeing anything that has me too worried. But I will continue to monitor this and will bring live coverage again if necessary, as this storm really at this point, like I say, is mostly a large or a flash flooding threat just north of Waco, stretching from Lacey, Lakeview, and Belmead up towards West and Leroy and Ross. Flooding is the primary issue with this one. So I will continue to monitor this and bring live coverage if needed in the next several minutes.